very shortly. You'll get a sense of exactly what is going on here in Cairo, here in Egypt, and how what happens here reflects on not just the region but the entire world. Well, many people are not familiar with Adli Morsi, but they will be familiar with a man called Mohammed el-Baradei, one of the most prominent Egyptians to play a role on the international field over the past few years. He is now a very significant figure in the opposition movement against the former president here, Mohammed Morsi. He's a lawyer, he's a diplomat, a civil servant and a scholar. Outside of Egypt, he's been best known as one of the lead UN arms inspectors before the Gulf War in 2003, and of course for his time as Director General of the nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, until late 2009. He and the International Atomic Energy Agency were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2005 for their efforts to prevent nuclear proliferation. Now, since moving back to Egypt and giving up the job at the IAEA, he has delved into politics and was an important figure in the 2011 revolution, which ousted the former president. He has the support of the opposition June 30th movement and is regarded as a top contender to lead a new transitional government. Well, I sat down with Mohammed el-Baradei earlier on today for his take on what has happened here. It's been such a fast-moving series of events. Some who are here have said it's taken a year, some have said it's taken 60 years, but over the last, 48 hours, things really haven't stopped. So I put it to him whether he thinks what has happened in the past 24 hours was indeed a military coup. This is what he said.
It's not a coup, Becky. I mean, unfortunately, it's a sad situation we are in. It's a painful situation. We thought that we went through a fairly free, presidential election, and then unfortunately the president messed up, and when you end up with 20 million people in the street, of a state of mind that he needs to go and needs to go now, it's a sad state. It was a very painful decision to make, either to continue and risk a civil war situation, or take some exceptional measures to make correction of the uprising of 2011.
So when the US says it is deeply concerned and Germany call this a heavy setback for democracy, you say what?
I say we are also deeply concerned, but this is basically a measure to restore democracy. This is basically a measure, a reset, of the measure that we need to take in order to go on the right track. We need a competent government to fix security and fix the economy, which is bust. So we are also deeply concerned and hope we'll get it right this time.
You need Washington to pony up at this stage, don't you?
We need everybody to pony up, frankly. And I had a long conversation with Secretary Kerry last night. I am the one, to start with, as a lawyer, I want always to be within the bound of constitutional legality. But when we are, or we were, we still are, between a rock and a hard place. Either you risk a civil war, and we have quite a few of them around us, or, as I said, take extra constitutional measure to ensure that we get the country together.
Lots of talk about the restoration of democracy, but how do you explain to Morsi's supporters that this is a democracy going forward when they've lost their man who was democratically elected?
I would explain it that this is a recall, and it is nothing novel. I mean, you have a lot of recalls, of the U.S. Governor Davis was recalled in California. I think the governor of Minnesota last year. So,
slightly different though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you could have done through a referendum, but we didn't have the luxury to wait for a referendum.
So Morsi could run again at this stage?
I assume so, although I don't think he would.
How do you go about making a multi-party democracy here?
We are not looking into party affiliation. We are looking into a government that can ensure law and order, ensure that the economy will go back on track, ensure that there is some form of social justice, ensure that people will feel that there is something positive.
Does that mean excluding people?
No, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, I would hope, qualified people from the Brotherhood, from the Salafis, should part of this government, that they need, everybody need to be to be part of the political process. We need a cohesive society that is tolerant, that respects each other's differences.
What's your role going forward?
I hope I'll be the eminence grise. I mean, I'm very, I'm getting on with the years, Becky, and I think I'll be much more effective doing what I'm doing now, is making sure that people get together, making sure that I send a message of national reconciliation, of, the country focusing on real priorities, the 50% who are below the poverty level, education, healthcare, and I'll do whatever I can do.
Do you want to be president?
No, I frankly don't, and definitely my family is vehemently opposed to even the idea of that.
Well, we'll get more from Mohammed El-Baradei later on in this show, in what was an extended and fascinating interview with a man who is really at the heart of politics here once again in Egypt this day. Egypt enters what is this transitional period. Have a listen to the second part of my interview with him.
You talk about reconciliation here. I also know that you're in a position to get the international community involved in helping out what is top of the inbox here, which is the economy. What needs to happen next?
I think now we have to make sure, I hope, that we will fix our agreement with the IMF. I think this is a real priority. I was told that the Gulf is now ready, once we get that, ready to pump in money, and we need a lot of money. We need, I think, like $35 billion as a bridge for this year until we get the security in order, until we get the economy jump started, and then we get direct foreign investment. But we need this money, particularly if we go through the IMF deal, to make sure that we have money to deal with the social ramification, that the poor will not be further hurt by any austerity measures. But if you get this country, it has a lot of talents, and a lot of goodwill. And I started to hear a lot of goodwill from everywhere in the world, from the US, from Europe, from the Gulf. So we can do it. It's just a question now. We need to work together as a team and move forward.
Saudi Arabia has welcomed this transition. And Qatar, who were big supporters of the Morsi government, are they still welcome at the party?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they made a welcoming statement today, basically saying they are going to work with whatever government is in Egypt. And I have no doubt that they will continue to support the Saudis, the Gulf, the European, everybody. I mean, we cannot afford Egypt to fail. Nobody can afford Egypt to fail.
There's no doubt that those who oppose the Morsi government have a sense of hope now for Egypt. I'm sure you do too. What are your fears going forward?
My fear is that we do not deliver. My fear that the Brotherhood will feel that they are excluded. So we need a quick delivery, and that I come back to our friends everywhere. We need the cash. Put the money where your mouth is, because we need to show the people that we are really focusing on their basic needs.
Mohammed El-Baradei speaking to me just before this show.